Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Breakdown with Rinae and
nKateko.
Yes, welcome. Yes, you know guys, we've been like AWOL. I think because of the pandemic, Mngani.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean guys, shuile, but we are back, you know, and we're gonna bring you like proper content. So today, Mngani, hey guys, me. I am a connector, guys. We brought someone that is amazing on the show.
Favorite child.
Yes, guys, we brought someone amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Thiofhi Lambani. Welcome.
Okay.
Guys, she is adhering to the safety precautions of Corona.
I don't want problems.
Good.
Yes, welcome, Theo.
Thank you for having me. You can hear me, right?
Yes,
we
yes.
can, Shem, and you are wearing a mask, making sure that you are protected, right? Okay, cool. So Thiofhi is the famous manufacturer owner, guys, of Spotless.
Can I hold it? Because I'm
Yes,
in the middle.
Mngani.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
Mngani.
she is spotless.
Yes, she is. Yeah, so basically, Theo, we just want to know a bit about you. Who are you? And where do you come from?
Okay, I grew up Haravere. I was born and raised Haravere, which is a small village in Western, in the Limpopo province. Yes. I went to the primary schools there, Magowani Primary School and Magluwe Primary School. And when I was in grade 7, I got a scholarship to go to Ridgeway College, which is a high school that offers the Cambridge syllabus. And I think that's where sort of like everything started for me, because I was exposed to people that I wouldn't have been exposed to if I was in the schools in the village, because the opportunities there are limited. Yeah, and that's me. And yeah, that's cool.
So we talked about Spotless. We said you're famous for it. Tell us a bit more about what Spotless is and what inspired you to come up with this.
Okay, so after my first business wasn't going so well, I spoke to my mom about wanting to jump into a different industry. I wanted to have a product, and then my mom said, no, it won't work out if you have to start a brand of your own. How would it be if you started stocking up cleaning products in the city and you come back home and you distribute them? You know, that was my mom's idea. Then because I'm not basic and I'm extra like that, I was like, oh, I can actually come up with my own brand.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that night I remember I was on my laptop, I was busy doodling the label. And yeah, that's literally how it is. I didn't have the formula at that time, I didn't have anything, it didn't look like this. I just found something on the internet, I did a label, I edited, I pasted it on there, and I went on Facebook and I was like, guys, what do you think? And everyone was going crazy. So I was like, okay, this sounds like a great idea.
Sure.
And that is how I started. I went on to Google, there's a basic dishwashing liquid formula, like producing. And then I started looking for raw material from that formula. I couldn't find a lot of things. So that's when I had to like sort of like dig deep into, for example, there's something called lapsa. I couldn't find that in the stores. I couldn't find the raw material. So now I had to go and Google what makes lapsa, you know. And then I found the little components, how much of each makes the lapsa, you know, and then eventually I got the perfect formula for Spotless.
Yeah. So you basically make everything.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
The dye, the perfume, everything.
How badass is that?
Like, imagine. This is a young black woman from Limpopo. Dishwashing brand.
From the village, Mngani.
Yeah, from the village, brand.
That's, I mean, I'm mind blown by the fact that, okay, so I think when you shared about your first business, right, it was the digital marketing agency. So then you found that it's not working out, right?
So what happened at that time is that there was a shift in the digital space when companies were getting comfortable with employing someone who does their digital internally. So they stopped outsourcing. I started losing clients, you know, and I wasn't gonna go and try to get a job and work for one company, because I really liked working with different companies and, you know, coming up with digital strategies for them. So when I started losing clients, I realized that, and I asked my other friends who were also in digital marketing, they were also losing clients. Even the big digital marketing agencies were losing clients. So it was just not the right space to be in that industry.
Sure.
Yeah, and then that's,
Sure. But you're like a proper entrepreneur.
But you see, what I like about how you presented yourself is a lot of people in entrepreneurship in particular love to romanticize it. They like to make it seem as if, you know, you just come up with an idea, I'm so brilliant, I'm going to make this work. Here you are, you came and you spoke well about, you had a great idea which was doing well, but you came across challenges, which is the reality of what people want to know. I want to know, as a young black female, in South Africa in this space, what challenges have you come across? If someone out there is listening and is thinking, you know what, I've got a great idea, I want to go into the entrepreneur space, and yeah.
I think just getting the funding that you need. So for example, I'm going to give you an example. It takes me 11 rands to produce one bottle of spotless dishwashing liquid. So, and I'm selling it at, okay, let's say I'm making 10 rands per bottle, 6 rands per bottle. Let's say I'm making that profit. So, in order to make a lot of money, I need to produce a lot of them and move a lot of them. Do you understand? So, if I'm only going to produce 100, it means I'm going to be making 600 rands, for example. Do you understand? So, you need to get to a point where you've got a system that allows you have money and you build a system that allows you to produce masses and move masses, and that is very difficult because first of all, I've had work relationships where I tried getting people to invest in the business, and you know, I don't think I'm experienced enough as an entrepreneur to know how to go with these negotiations. I end up getting too little, I end up selling myself short, acting desperate, you know. So I think it's just very difficult placing yourself in an industry like manufacturing, because if it was just digital marketing, you know, it's just marketing. Do you understand? But now there's marketing in manufacturing, there's selling in manufacturing. There's like every single thing that you can imagine in manufacturing, and it's difficult when you have to sort of like put together everything together and you have no money to do it. Because it would work out so much better if I had 1 million rands and I sort of like plan for 6 months and I can get the right people to do the right things. If I'm I'm testing the new formula for household bleach, then I get an actual chemical engineering student to come in and they do that. I don't have to worry about being on Google the whole day and you know, that type of thing. So I think it's just funding is the biggest obstacle. And when you're starting up, I know there's a lot of initiatives from the government when they give out money. It's so difficult to access those funds, mainly because I can't just go and say I'm manufacturing dishwashing liquid and they give me money. Because I mean, there has to be steps. And when I start, I don't know those steps. For example, let's say I'm at a place where I was not documenting my finances correctly. I wasn't banking properly, you know. So there's just a lot of things that you wouldn't know when you get into a business. And when you get to a point where you need money, you don't even know where to start. And to start something, you need money in, which is not there. So it's like, I'm knocking and saying, "May you please give me 50 cents. They're like, "Oh, well, to have 50 cents, you have to go and spend 1 rand. You know, to put together things to give." Do you understand? So it's just one of those things where you just keep moving forward and back.
So that's interesting. I want to find out from you, do you have like mentors, people that are guiding you through this, people that are assisting you to understand? Because I think one of the things that I have discovered, because I read a lot of case studies about like, particularly like small businesses in South Africa, you find that research indicates that majority of businesses hardly survive 5 years, you know. And one of the biggest challenges beyond the funding, because funding is one of the issues, but there's a sense of like very few small businesses have like people assisting them to understand the industry, how things are going. Like you were mentioning stuff around marketing, distribution, you know, operations, dealing with people. Because I mean, we're gonna talk a little bit about like some of the systems that you have in place in distributing your products. So I just want to find out, is there anyone that's mentoring you, assisting you in that level?
I think usually when we hear the word mentorship, we imagine someone babying us through the journey. I do have mentors that don't like being babied. It's like this thing where someone wants to maybe produce a product and they come into my DMs, they're like, "Oh, I'm so inspired by you, please tell me what to do. Have you Googled? No, do you really need me to say, do the, you know, is it stuff that you can't get off Google?" So I do have a mentor, Ntombentle Katwane from Afro Botanics, is my mentor. So, but I don't like bothering her unnecessarily because she's had to do things herself. So if I feel like I'm really stuck and I don't know, okay, I'll WhatsApp her. Do you have time for a phone call? It has to be something really serious. I don't want to be.
What do you deem the role of a mentor then?
Someone that you can run to when you really in need, not someone to baby you and do your work for you. Yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
because I find it very difficult. So before I started Spotless, I asked for a meeting with her, and I went and sat in her office. And I had a long list of questions. Do you understand? I was just asking, and what about this? And what about this? And what do you think is important? And she's very sweet, you know? She's very sweet and she's really all about women empowerment and mentoring. So she answered all those questions. But when I think of it now, there's a lot of stuff I could have got off the internet. You know, I literally went and sat for 2 hours in her office. She could have used that time for something else if I had done my homework as well. You know, so I wouldn't want to be that person for her. I won't text her and say, where will I get a barcode? Did you Google? You understand? What are the boards that I need to pass in order to get into retail? did I Google? Do you understand? So if I really feel like maybe I'm about to sign a contract with someone and I don't understand the legal jargon in there and I can't afford a lawyer, that's when I know this is something very important and very pressing. I'll call her. I need you now. Yeah, because and also on YouTube, there's like a lot of content available for mentorship. So you don't actually need someone to be physically mentoring you, because at the end of the day, no one cares about you and your business more than yourself. So if you really want to equip yourself with that type of stuff, you go onto the internet. There's stuff on Google, there's stuff on YouTube, there's articles, read, listen to podcasts. There's so much available. So Ntombente is someone that I can talk to, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have like Nkomi Drama. She's my mentor. She doesn't know me. She mentors me because I go in and read about her business and what she does and the challenges that she's come across, and how she she overcame them.
So I think with you, because given your previous experience of being in the digital space, right, like digital marketing, there's a sense of you always had to do your research prior, you know what I'm saying? So searching stuff online for you is like it comes naturally, you know what I'm saying? Well, else in the typical setup, because I always think about like someone who's in Seshego, someone who is in Mankweng or in Hadihale, you know, someone at home like Venda, someone who went to a school where unfortunately majority of our schools don't actually utilize the resources that they have in the schools, like your laptops and the computers. So you have a lot of like young people that are there and they don't actually get to a point where they understand the significance of going up and just Googling like, okay, cool, I want to start this campaign, you know. There's that missing gap. And I like the fact that you mentioned it when you started, that going to Ridgeway offered you something, you know, because that's another debate that you and I are always talking about, you know, the inequality of education.
And even at these times of corona, bro, it's like the glass was not clear. Now you can clearly see the inequality.
Yeah. Good. What I'm trying to establish is that for me, I find that as young people that are enlightened, I almost feel like, I don't want to say we are obliged to tell the next person, but I always feel like when I know something, you know, I want to share it, you know, which is what I do.
No.
That's kind of what I believe in. I
do that, and at the moment I'm actually trying to turn my Instagram into a place where there's like a lot of information. I'm just very I don't want to come across as someone who's boastful or is always talking about themselves, but I want to get to a point where there's like a lot of IGTV stories or stories on my profile where maybe it's funding. This is my journey in funding. I'm not saying this is what you need to do, but this is what I went through. You know, so I want to make that very easily accessible to other young girls who want to go into business. I do help out, but I just get really frustrated when someone is just being lazy. If someone comes to me and says that this is what I have done, like, okay, let me give you an example. Yesterday someone inboxed me and she said that, oh, I'm so inspired by you. I have an idea. I want to produce some, I think she said tile cleaners or something like that. How can you help me? So I was like, okay, give me your WhatsApp number. Because she wanted to meet, and you know, I was like, Corona.
Literally wearing a mask right now, sis.
So I was like, no, give me a number, then I'll WhatsApp you. She gives me a number. I go on to WhatsApp. I actually asked her a lot of questions. Do you have the? Actually, let me show you. Do you have the name of the brand? I asked her a whole lot of questions, and she just said, I'm working on it. That was one, you know, I asked her like 6 different questions, and she just said, I am working on it, and I was just, I'm gonna find this, because I
I like how she's even coming up with the receipts, eh? Like, like sis is like,
but sis, what, in these few minutes that I've been speaking to you, what I really want to just highlight is I like the fact that you're such a go-getter.
Yeah.
I like the fact that now what you're saying is not, oh guys, your ideas are not possible. No, you only need funding. What you're also saying is you need to start somewhere. When you want to do something, you need to be the person who motivates yourself. What's that African? Let's go back to the roots, man. Anyway, let's go back to Proverbs, bro.
Yes,
what is it in Venda again when they say?
So I was like, hi, and then I'm like, text me here since we can't wait. She's like, okay, I'm sorry for bothering. I'm like, no, it's fine. What have you done so far? Do you have a name? Do you have the branding? Do you have the formula? Have you tested the formula? You know, and she's like, I'm still on it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm literally taking my time, and I want to guide you through this because I know how difficult it is. I mean, like, it's a lonely world, especially for young black women. So I'm really willing to hold your hand, and you just say, do I need your help? First of all, or do you understand? Let's work together. I think it's very, I'm always willing to help people, but I think we also get to a point where I, for example, myself, I'll say, Ntobentle must help me because she's also making it. She must tell me how she did it. She doesn't owe that to me. If I really want her to help me, I must be sure what I want. I ask questions, specific questions. I Google and I can't find this. Then I call her up and say, this is what I've done. This is what I want. This is what I've done. And this is what I'm struggling to get. Can you help me? Sure. Even when she's answering me, she knows that this person has actually stepped forward and she's done something already. Instead of me just saying, yeah, no, I'm struggling to go into retail. Please help me. You hook me up with your clicks contact. Do you understand? That's not how it works. Yeah.
I like that. You know what I like? I like you. I feel like you're challenging me also because a lot of times we come up with ideas, you know, but hardly interrogate the ideas that we have. And interrogating in a sense of, do I go and I check out this thing that I really want to do? You know, I'm personally like very passionate about education, though I didn't study education. And a lot of people always like think, oh, this girl has studied education. But one of the things that has made me love education is because I sit and I look at which countries are doing well in education, you know, which countries are battling with education in terms of African states and all of that. So that if I sit and someone was to come, because I always like will put something on social media and like, I want to travel and go and like to those different countries just to go and research their education systems, you know what I'm saying? But if someone was to come through and they're like, oh, we want to fund you, but what have you done? And I'm like, I'm still working on it.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you've just indicated, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a mindset. Hey?
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like, I don't know, sometimes you feel the world owes you.
I think that's the biggest problem. And I think it's, like, you can't blame people to a certain extent because, I mean, like, we have been oppressed for such a long time. And even right now, we're still suffering the things that happened under apartheid and the like. So when you feel like, you always feel like everything is working against you. Your white peer can start the same thing at the same time with you. And a month later, they'll be in big retail. You know, and we know that those are the results of what happened, you know, years back. And we're still going to suffer that. Our kids are still going to. So sometimes you just feel like, oh my God, I am black, you are black, you're making it. Why can't you just help me? Because, you know, this, and that's not the case. Like, I now saying to Rinae, you have to buy Spotless because I made it, not you know, not another product. But first of all, is it a good quality product? Do you understand? So it should also come from a place where what you're offering or what you want, like, you work on it. Do you understand? We shouldn't have this thing of, you're black, I'm black, do this for me. You know, it should come from a place where Rinae feels like, okay, I bought Spotless the first time because I'm supporting to you, but the second time it's a really good product, and I would really want to have it in my home. So I think that's what we're feeling. We're always shouting, support black businesses, do this black business, but how much quality and how much value for your money is that product? Yeah.
Sure. So she's touching on something. You know, on Twitter, you always see people complaining about like supporting black businesses, you know, and how like the standard drops, or if you are giving me a service, it's as if you are doing me a favor, you know, which is something that I think happens a lot. But I also have an approach that for me, and I liked when I first bought the dishwashing liquid, you asked me like, please tell me your views on the product, give me feedback and comments, you know. And I really like that approach of asking your customers like, where do I improve? Because when you told me that, I realized that not only do you believe in your brand, but you actually want to know that are your customers happy with the brand, you know? And that for me is massive, because this means you believe in your brand, but you also see it growing. But it only grows when customers are interacting with it. How amazing is that? That's mind blowing, bruh.
I'm really fascinated.
Yeah, I can see. Like, I've never seen that so mesmerized by someone. Like,
no, I'm just like, yeah, girl.
I think you're having a moment of like, wow, guys, like, I'm so mesmerized.
But what you were saying as well about black business, I think, let's go back to, I like the fact that you went back to apartheid and our oppression. I think a lot of the time, a lot of us as black people do have an inferiority complex. And a lot of the time we do feel like what is white is better. You know, even now, I mean, I can go back to medical school where there are some people who refuse to be seen by me. There's a particular woman in particular who said to me, I refuse to be seen by you because umnyama. I don't want to be seen by someone who I could have raised and breastfed. No, you're not good enough. The person who's good is that one with the light skin. You know, they tell us that face to face. The reality come across. And now a lot of the time people are like, what's black is not as good in terms of business. And it's not that. We are dissatisfied with some black businesses. It's a fact. we're also some dissatisfied with some white businesses. And the quality of what you do is it's important, man. Your brand, you need to maintain the standard.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. Yesterday, I had someone had posted on their Twitter. I had actually not seen it until a friend of mine mentioned me. But meet Thiofhi, she was 23, she started this business, and then this guy just went and commented something so rude, you know. I mean, if it was okay, so this is what he said. It's like these it's a black guy. These black girls are so lazy. All they do is just take an existing product, add water, put it in a bottle, and put the label on, and that's what they're going with. And you know, I just looked at that and I'm just like, how? How? Why?
What an assumption.
But then immediately, what if he used it and that's how he felt about it? Do you understand? So that's the first thing. Okay, first of all, I was offended because I know I'm putting out a good product and that is not what I do. So I responded to him and I said, that's not what we do. We actually have 8 raw materials that go into our product and please try it. And then he doesn't respond to me. He goes and tweets again. He's like, I have used it. So that is why I'm saying. And I'm like, oh, so where did you buy it? Because I know where it's sold. And that's where you couldn't. You know, if he had said, I have bought it at this area and I know he can prove that, then there's something wrong with my product. And instead of being offended and acting I should actually go back and see what mistake did I make. There's actually a point where I was working with other people and we were mixing 1,000 liters. And they made a mistake. You know, they put a little 200 liters of water extra. And the product was not right. I mean, like if I could have bottled it and then you would buy it and not notice. But I know that's not what I want. You know, someone could have that product in their hands for the very first time and that's that liquidy thing and they'll never buy it again.
But I also, you know what I also think you're touching on, right? Is the fact that that's why I believe if I buy like a product, particularly from black businesses, and I'm not happy, I don't prefer just going on Twitter and blasting them and whatever. Like I actually like giving feedback and saying, "Ish guys, I bought from you, but your product, da 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 da." You know what I'm saying? And I will explain my experience. And what I'm finding is that I'm finding a lot of black businesses being very open to like comments, feedback. You know, because I think the way that this person handled that situation, it's a bit immature because he could have gone to like Twitter. You are on Twitter. He can go Facebook, Instagram. DM you and be like, hey sis, I bought your product and this is how I feel and this was my experience. Because I think I want to go back to a point of where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? What are your plans? What do you want to focus on? What are you passionate about? Because I think we also need to start knowing like what are some of the things that you have, you know, in the pipeline of what you want to do in your life.
All right. So one thing that really hurt me about having to stop, I still service 2 clients for Fearless Trends, but like minimal work, like consulting almost. So having to leave Fearless Trends and going to different businesses, I was very heartbroken by that because I don't like stepping from one area into another. You know, I wanted to. My plan for Fearless Trends was that I wanted to be in that industry for long enough that kids who are coming from villages can actually be digital managers, which is something that is you know they could never imagine. So I don't want to exit the manufacturing industry, manufacturing of cleaning products. We've got formulas for laundry detergent and household bleach that we are looking to launch at least early next year. Yeah, so I think dishwashing liquid was the easiest to manufacture and it was very easy. I mean, when I started, I didn't have this mindset, but I realized when I was when people said add more products, but it was very easy to penetrate the market with the limited resources that we had with dishwashing because it's very easy to make it a good quality product. So now when the household bleach comes, you know, this is Spotless. Spotless have great dishwashing liquid. Let's try this. Do you understand? So we have a full range. Washing powder, you know, we don't have the formula for washing powder yet, but I mean, it's a full cleaning products range and we really want to go in there and go into Africa and make sure that other young kids can just look at this and think, I can also start something with my own and it can become really big. Yeah.
So the work you're doing is important.
Yes. You know, I think
we are here to change the world. And what we're doing, I like the fact that you're not seeing it as just I just want to make money.
No.
I want to infiltrate.
Yeah.
But what I want to know from you, I mean, your entrepreneurship for you is what you've been doing for a long time. But when you've talked about the challenges as well, but I want to know on a real note, if you were to come back in your second life, is this what you do? And if so, why? If not, why not?
I would. It's very important to have black business women. You know, it's important for I was having a conversation with my little niece. She's 5, and I asked her, "What do you want to be when she grows up?" She says she wants to work for Spotless. She doesn't know what that means, you know. So I asked her, "What does it mean?" She's like, she's gonna also have her own product. I would never have thought that at 5 years old. So I think it's very important to have,
representation.
I will definitely go into it. It's not an easy journey, you know. I cry myself. I was crying last night. I cried myself to sleep. I cried because I can't afford this. It's just a hectic. But I wouldn't do anything else. It's very special for me. It's very important because also more than it being like inspiring other young people, it's the economy that needs this.
Yes.
Do you understand? It's bigger than just me saying my mom is proud that she's got a daughter that is gonna be on the Rinae's YouTube channel.
Yes!